Welcome to episode 201 of Missing Pieces. This is my weekly audio journal podcast where I talk about what I'm up to and what I'm into. And this week I was into getting some extra family time in. It wasn't spring break, but it kind of felt that way. It was like a little teaser because we had some extra days off, not only Clark Man, but Cody as well. And then we had some Guys Day action last weekend, which was amazing. And I was just soaking all this in. This is like a preview of what's to come this summer. And I'm all about that life. So we'll be talking about that and more in this week's episode, which I should say is being recorded a day later than my typical Friday routine. Today is Saturday, March 9th, 2024. It's 11:43 a.m. And this weekend is going to be actually the opposite of last weekend because Clark Man has been wanting to go over to Yammy's and spend the night over there. It's like a whole shindig. And obviously, when you stay with Yammy, you get treated like a king. So he loves that life. So Cody's taking him over there right now, which I thought would be a great time for me to record my podcast because when she comes home, we just have the whole day together. And we're going to do all kinds of exciting things like hang out at home and probably watch some shows or movies that aren't appropriate for Clark Man. So yeah, that's what you do when you're in your late 30s. I talked about last week, we went out on our date after we went to Clark Man's concert, which consisted of us going to Panera and to Wegmans. So if you're a younger chap, this is what you have to look forward to in life when you start having kids and stuff. Like an exciting day for you is laying on the couch and watching Netflix, watching like an inappropriate show. I mean, not to say we're not watching any crazy stuff, okay? Just some stuff that wouldn't necessarily be good for a 9-year-old. So get that out of your mind, you crazies. Anyways, let's rewind the tape. We still use tapes too here, all the way back to last Friday where I left off with you. It was an awesome night. That day, I ended up getting my $25 Xbox that I got at the estate sales and the Kinect sensor. I got that all working and I was like, Clark Man is going to love this. Little did I know how much he actually would. So we ended up getting some pizzas. Cody had a couple friends over and actually my friends too. I should specify. We graduated from school together. They're her friends from all the way back in like, I think kindergarten, like all the way back, your OGest of OG friends. They came over, we got some pizza. One friend brought over a Wegmans chocolate cake. I should get this out of the way here. You know my weight loss thing that I'm trying to do? Blew that out of the water this week, and you'll see why as we continue talking about pizza and going out to eat and all these other things. Anyways, it was a lovely evening having some pizza. We got a Hawaiian pizza. We had chocolate cake. It was great. But you know what makes it better? Coming downstairs with your little buddy and firing up the Xbox 360 from dang near 20 years ago. Has it been that long? It's at least 15 years. Way before Clark Man was even thought of. The Xbox 360 and Kinect was a thing. And little did I know how much we would have fun playing this. There's some video footage of it that you can watch on our channel. We did a whole video for patrons. If you'd like to join our sponsor, Greg's Extras, links down below. If you appreciate the podcast and you love what we're doing here, it's free of charge. The podcast is at least. Patreon is the place you can support that if you'd like to. I'll get my plug out of the way. There you go. Anyways, we played the heck out of that night and had so much fun with it. And we continued that throughout the weekend too. It was just amazing. In fact, we played two different games. We played Kinect Sports and Kinect Adventures. We played Adventures first because I ended up destroying my Kinect Sports disc. I got both these things at yard sales this year, so don't feel too bad about it because I think they were like $1. But I noticed when I set up my Xbox, I was switching them out because I was testing other Xboxes just to see what I'm going to sell and what I'm going to keep. And I had it set up and I was like, oh crap, that thing's set up the wrong way. So I went to flip it over while it was on. And the disc was spinning inside and it was like, da, 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 da. I was like, oh no, I turned it off. And then the disc was just like scratched a heck and back right around the center. So I was like, oops, kind of messed that up. But I really wanted to play Kinect Sports with Clark Man because that's like where all the good games are, like bowling. And what was our most favorite thing? We love playing table tennis. He liked volleyball. We do boxing. Boxing's intense. It's really, really amazing. So I was like, shoot, I want to play this. So I called the local game store, not GameStop, but like we have like this little kind of like a mom and pop game shop that somehow has survived throughout all of this. And they ended up having the game there for $6, 6 times more than what I paid for the yard sales. But I was like, you know what? We're going to get our money's worth out of this. And we most certainly did throughout the weekend. But let's talk about the next day, Saturday. That was going to be a guy's day because Cody was going with her mom to her friend's baby shower. It's not often that we have baby showers these days, but her friend had waited longer than most to have kids. I thought we waited a long time. I turned 30 when we had Clark Man. A lot of our friends already had kids by then. So we're kind of like in this weird spot where most of our our friends' kids are a good bit older than Clark Man, and now she's having a baby who's going to be like 10 years younger than Clark Man. But they lived an amazing life. They went traveling all over the place. They kind of did the thing that you should do, where you have all these moments that you're really trying to have while you're young and able, like traveling, as opposed to when you one day hopefully retire and then maybe your body or your health isn't what you hoped it would have been. So that's why I encourage people, if there is something you really want to do, maybe it's if you have the means and the time, which is both, I guess, kind of hard to get financially and just time off of work, to go do some things that you really want to do, because you just never know. We always talk about no guarantees, and they live the no guarantees life, and I appreciate them for that. But now they're like at the point where they're having a kid now, and I'm like, man, you made it this long. You sure you want to do this? Like that, you're going to be darn near 60 years old when they graduate. But it's like, you've lived this life. What's the next chapter, And I 100% believe that having a child adds so much to your life, and it's amazing. It's incredible. That being said, I may be biased here, but I think I got a good one on my hands here with Clark Man. It's a joy. And I think about sometimes, like yesterday, I was thinking about like how precious these moments are that I'll be describing to you here in this podcast, and how, someday this isn't going to be like this anymore. He's going to be all moved out. We can watch our shows anytime we want, but it won't be as fun, So that's why I don't blame them for having a kid at this point, because it's like, it's probably the most rewarding thing you'll ever do in your life, right? Raising up someone and like giving them a life, and hopefully a good one, and having these experiences together, teaching them to be a decent human. Maybe some parents could do better at that, but it's totally worth it. So that's my message to them. But there is a little part of me that's like, oh man, you guys, you were almost in the clear. You could just it cost them a lot of money to have kids, and like it's a lot of time and a lot of inconveniences. But again, you weigh it out, the pros and cons. The pros are it's just dumps on the other one. So, anyways, guys' day, they went to the baby shower, and I was like, Clark Man, what do you want to do today? And he had a whole list of things that he had planned. So obviously going to the game store was something we needed to do to get our Kinect disc, because I really wanted to play that with him. But I wanted to check out Bins, and he wanted to go too. So I was like, sweet, we get to go to Bins on a Saturday, where everything's $7, but you never know what kind of crazy finds are going to be in there. And we were also going to go to GameStop, where I ordered this Pokemon pack for him that's typically $40, but I got it on sale for $20. And it's a Gyarados something pack. You'd have to ask him about it. But I did like the in-store pickup for free shipping or whatever. And I thought, you know what, this is going to be great, because it's not often that we go out shopping necessarily. A lot of times things are just shipped to the house. And for me as a kid, I love that experience of going out. Obviously, like malls are kind of dead. We don't have a mall anymore. And going to Target is fun. Walmart's fun, but it's like, let's go to a game store. And we went to 2 game stores that day. So first stop was Bins, and I checked that out. I didn't see anything crazy. Like in my mind, I thought Saturday was going to be one of those things where there's like $100 items, $200 items, and you're just like paying $7. Everything in the Bins are $7, by the way. So I talked about this a little bit last week. I won't rehash it here, but basically Saturday's the new day. Everything comes out at $7, and then progressively every day after that, things go down by $1. So there's like a $6 day, $5 day, $4 day. I am describing it. But I was like, the first day is probably the best day. We went there. We're there about 2 hours after they open, and it wasn't anything special. It wasn't anything more crazy than what it is typically when I go on I went on $5 day. I've gone on $2 day. I mean, the Bins are a little bit emptier, but there was no crazy finds. It's not like I found a PlayStation 5 in the Bins. I didn't find anything crazy. I did find a PlayStation 4 game, though. I paid $7 for it, and it sells for about $27 on eBay with free shipping. It's a Gundam game. And I was like, all right, I'll turn $7 into basically $20, right? Like, who wouldn't? Not the great margins that I would like. I'd much rather buy something for like 2 and sell it for 20 or 30. Who wouldn't, right? But I did find that, and I did see that there were resellers there. In fact, there was a couple guys in the back, and I was like kind of eavesdropping, doing one of those things where I'm searching but listening, you know what I'm saying? And they were talking about like kind of like being there every week, and sometimes it's worth it, and they'll see you next week, that kind of routine. I was like, oh, shoot. These guys are beating me at my own game. Now, I'm sure these guys are doing this like professionally, like this is their business. Me, this is just a hobby. I just like to hunt for treasures. And to be honest, I'd rather go on $1 day and find $1 treasure and sell it for 10 than like go there and like punch out a bunch of resellers and digging through bins and like fighting for position, assuming that's what it's like. It was pretty busy there. We were there at like right before noon, and they were going to do a restock. In fact, they were going to close the store for 30 minutes to do a restock. So it could be beneficial to go like right after lunchtime on Saturday, because then you get that restock, and maybe the resellers are kind of like wrapped unless they hang out and wait. That's possible. I didn't see those guys actually leave, but you could definitely tell there were probably people there looking for opportunities and stuff. And I don't blame them. It's fun. It's a great thing to do. And I definitely see that being a part of my future. That being said, like right now with looking at the Lego situation that I'm in, I'm like, why am I outsourcing all this stuff when I have things that I need to like clear out already that I have? So I like this weekend, I'm probably not going to go. I didn't go back the rest of the week because just looking at the $7 day, there really wasn't much in there that I would go back and be like, man, if that thing was $3, I would totally buy that. Nah, it was kind of like junk, if I'm being honest. So I don't know. I skipped a week of the bins, but every week's different. It's again, treasure hunting. You're not guaranteed a treasure, but I love it. And I've been doing well. I've been selling the stuff that I've been listing on there here and there. I've been selling my estate sale stuff, which we went to another estate sale this week, and we'll talk about that. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So bins, kind of a bins bust. I got one item, but it was cool. Clarkman enjoyed it. Other than the fact that I felt like maybe he didn't want to be there that long. Like I thought he probably thought we were just going to walk through, but obviously you got to take some time to look through. And I think he was kind of over it, although he was having fun, like finding various toys and things in there and whatnot. So we made the best of that. Next stop though was the game store, like the little mom and pop one. And it was fun going in there because they had Nintendo games, Super Nintendo games, Sega Genesis games, stuff that GameStop doesn't have. There was nothing crazy in there, like a lot of sports games, cheap stuff, but then they had some other things that were interesting, but maybe a little expensive. There were surprisingly other people shopping in there. And there was a guy that came in that was asking about getting a GameCube controller, and he bought one of those. And I was just really excited to see people supporting a local place, because it's easy to go to GameStop and then that corporate money just gets funneled out. But it was good to go in there, and they had my game. In fact, I called the night before and she's like, I'll set it back for you. When I was looking in there, they had like 7 copies of Kinect Sports and Kinect Adventures. Like it was a whole lineup of them. And I was like, hey, I was the guy that called about the Kinect game, and she gave it to me, $6, perfect condition, like as good condition as the one that I bought. So I was excited to get that. And again, we played the heck out of that. Like this whole week we played Kinect. We played that. I guess I'll talk about video games. We played that. And the other game that we played extensively, Clarkman is still obsessed with it, is Mario Kart 8. In fact, Cody even joined us in playing it, and we're having so much fun playing that as a 3-player family. In fact, I'm playing it with the Switch N64 controller. I had this out because I was playing Mario Tennis for the Nintendo Switch Online N64, and we only have 2 Pro controllers, and I was like, let me see if I can play it with N64, and that game works flawlessly with the N64 controller. It makes me feel like I'm playing Mario Kart 64 all over again. The good days, my friends. I feel like my entire adult life is trying to get back to the days of my childhood of like peace, serenity. The outside world never existed, and it was just a time of no stress and nothing but joy and excitement and entertainment. And that's what I'm looking for in my adult life. And I'm on the cusp. I think I'm like there. I'm a guy that maybe gets to play with Lego all day and go on treasure hunts and stuff. And I just share it, and people enjoy watching it. I feel like I won life's lottery in like literally every way. I really have. And it's like sometimes you just got to, and hopefully this isn't coming off as boasting, because that's certainly not what I'm intending. But I sometimes just think about how blessed I am in so many ways. And I don't know what happened in the world that I somehow found myself in this life. And sometimes you feel like you don't deserve it, obviously. But it's like, I'm just trying to live it up, just like I talked about this week, trying to soak up the extra time we have and stuff. And I'm not going to cry. You're going to cry. That was a fun time there going there. We went to GameStop after that, and I have to say, the customer service at GameStop, amazing. The guy working there was a Pokemon card enthusiast, and he was so sweet to Clarkman and like telling him which packs that he would recommend, what he should buy. He's even hosting, like him himself is hosting a Pokemon card night, which actually I think happened on the 9th. We missed it. he gave me a flyer for it where they move the stuff out of the center of the store, set up all these tables, and then people come in and they play the Pokemon game and trade cards and things. And he even looks out for like younger players to make sure nobody's getting ripped off and stuff. And that's not like a corporate thing, like that's him doing it. And I just thought that was really awesome. And I had so much respect for the dude. But we got our Pokemon thing in there, and that was cool. I looked at the games. I'm not really in the market for any video games. I have so many. Like, if you think I have a video game or a Lego backlog, I got a video game backlog too. And I just been thinking more and more about how, like, I consider where do I want to be 10 years from now? And obviously, I think Lego is going to still be a big part of my life. Always probably will be. And I really like see myself creating content in that regard, because that's way, to be honest, it's way easier making Lego videos than it is vlogs. It may look like you're just filming your life, but you need to be doing something in those vlogs, and it takes a lot of footage to kind of splice down to make something that's engaging to watch. But Lego's like, it just kind of lends itself to creating content, because there's so much stuff, like I can make a video, and we'll talk about this in a bit too when I get into my week in Lego. But I'm enjoying that aspect of my hobbies, but I want gaming to be a part of it too. And I'm really feeling called to retro games, like the games from my childhood. I had a Nintendo, was my first gaming console. I got that right before I turned 6. It was the Christmas of 1990. And I played Super Mario Brothers, and I never looked back. So I had that. And then my babysitter, a few years later, they had a Sega Genesis. So I ended up switching from a Nintendo dude to a Sega dude, and I loved Sonic 2. That was the game that came with my console. It was incredible, obviously. And then after that, my buddy, I always experience these consoles before I got them. My buddy got the N64 right when it launched. So next Christmas, I got that. I was always a little bit behind, but I can't fault my parents. They were doing the best that they could with what they had. Clarkman definitely has it better than I have it. Believe that. So I went to N64. Then I had a Sony PlayStation in like 1998 or something like that. So I was, like I said, I was behind. And then I got a Sega Dreamcast, kind of bet on the wrong horse there because the PlayStation 2 dominated that. PlayStation 2, I got that. Probably one of my favorite consoles of all times in terms of games, and the fact that it was my first Blu-ray player, so I could watch Blu-ray movies. And that was an amazing thing at the time. I had a VCR before that. Can you imagine that? Having to rewind? We rewinded this week, but do you rewind tapes? Sometimes. I won't go anywhere beyond that. Like that, we're getting into modern stuff. One of my fondest memories is the time that Cody and I went into Circuit City. This is right after we were together, and this was late again. This is probably like 2003. They had the $100 GameCubes there, and we both put $50 down of each of our monies to combine together, and we got a GameCube. And I remember having so many good memories of her playing Animal Crossing. She loved that game. And she loved Luigi's Mansion. She was playing that, and she beat Luigi's Mansion. I got what else? What was I playing? Oh, Mario Kart Double Dash. That was my game. But man, I just think back to when we were playing those games, and it was just like more of a carefree life. And I know if you're an adult, you can relate to this. You know what it's like doing adult things, being like paying taxes and like having bills and repairs and car insurance and just like life in general. To go back to those days where we were just, it was like maybe like our first semester in college, and playing Mario Kart Double Dash is something that I'd love to go back to. And these little moments that we have, like this week, I'm talking about these moments. It feels like that, like the three of us sitting here and we're playing Mario Kart together. I just love it. I love that. So obviously in your life, you want to do things that you enjoy, right? Like if it brings you joy, do it. And for the longest time, I looked at video games as like kind of a waste, but that's just the adult me speaking. It's the same reason I didn't go to school for graphic design. I was like, I love graphic design. I love art, but how am I going to get a job in that? I shouldn't even question. I should be like, who cares? Just go do it. Do what you love. That's my advice to anybody thinking about going to college. Although be careful. It's very expensive, and it's an expensive mistake to make if you spend too much chasing something that maybe doesn't have a future to it. So that's like my history with gaming. And I say all that. We kind of got off the rails there. I say all that to say that I do want that to become more of a part of my life, going back in time to play some of the games that I've had and maybe some of the ones I didn't, because like Super Nintendo, I completely missed out on. I do have a Super Nintendo that I got at a yard sale a few years back, but I have one game that Yami found at a yard sale. It's like a Captain America game. And I got Bulls versus Blazers, NBA game that I got last year, which I used to play on Sega Genesis. So I only have 2 games for it. So there's endless potential. Plus Nintendo Switch Online, and it's just like there's so much. Speaking of the devil, she's Oh, I have 2 packages. Oh, she went to the post office for me. I have 2 packages, one from Canada and one from Australia. Don't forget about the laundry. Okay, I got that part done. Thank you, Mrs. Brickitect, as she's known in some circles, for picking up my stuff. I haven't been to the post office this year. I had someone message me, and they said, Greg, I sent you and Clark some Pokemon cards back in December, and it's still in your post office box. If you're not planning to open it, can you send it back? And I was like, I promise, I'll go. I promise. So she went today. I never moved my post office box when we moved, so it's very inconvenient to go there. And I kind of shut down mail time because it was just too much. So it's not really, I don't really check it too much anymore, but people do occasionally send stuff. So anyways, that's gaming. After that, on Saturday, getting back onto the rails here, we just drove off the trail. We're swimming in the creek, and now we got back on our bike. We came back and we got in the car and we're back on the road. Okay. We went to Henry's Barbecue. This is a Clark man's request. We hadn't been there. Speaking of places we hadn't been in a long time, we hadn't been to Henry's Barbecue since I think like 2020. I think it was during remote learning kindergarten, because I remember having a door put on our house and the guy was waiting in our driveway when we came home with the stuff. And I remember being like kind of bitter because he came unscheduled and like our food was cold afterwards. I had to like reheat it. And I was like, you ruined my Henry's. Henry's Barbecue is just this little kind of dumpy place that they make like barbecues. They're not as good as Arby's even, but as a change up and for nostalgia reasons, it was Cody was working there as a waitress actually when we got together. And I used to go in there before I go to work and I would get a ham barbecue just to hang out with her for a little bit. And it was great. So I'd get that and I'd go to work and it was fun. But we went back for old time's sake and it was pretty good. I was shocked to see how much the prices had gone up. And that's kind of a topic I want to talk about. This is definitely one that I think is going to elicit a lot of responses in the comments. There's always like this one thing that I say every week that everybody's like, that's the thing I'm commenting on. Like I talked about all kinds of things, but it's like that one thing. Here's your thing, my friends, because we can all relate to this. Food prices. I'm not talking about grocery stores. I'm talking about like prepared like restaurant food prices, not even going in and sitting down restaurants. I'm talking about like Henry's Barbecue, for example. I think that was like $15 and we got like 2 sandwiches and 2 small fries. Okay. That's like McDonald's pricing these days too. Like I think Clark and I go to McDonald's. It's like $16. We got subs that night. We came home, opened, we had our lunch. It was great. We had opened up our Gyarados pack. We opened up a bunch of card packs. That little weasel Clark man though, I'm trying to get him to open up card packs. He only wants to open up a few and then save the rest of them for future days. Imagine having your dad that's like encouraging you to open them and then you're like, no, I'm going to save them. He's a saver at heart. He's a little stingy dude. Like I trained my young apprentice well. Speaking of stingy, that night, Clark and I got subs for dinner. It was a double like eat out day, right? Like Cody was still gone. I'm like, let's go get some subs. He's been wanting to go to this place called Miletto's, which actually has good subs. And I got a meatball sub, which is my favorite thing they have there. And Clarkman got half of an Italian sub, meat only. He doesn't like cheese. He doesn't like veggies, nothing. It's just like a meat sandwich. So sub and a half. I grabbed a little bag of chips while we were there because they had like this like, it was like onion flavored. I was like, that sounds kind of interesting. I set it on the counter. I pull a $20 bill out of my wallet thinking I'm going to get some change back. A sub and a half and a little bag of chips. She's like $25 and some odd cents. I'm like, oh, what now? For a sub and a half and a bag of chips? And I was like, dude, like I'm driving home. I'm like, did I get ripped off there? Did she put the tax, the guy with his kid tax on there or what? But I came home and looked at the menu and one of their subs is $14. A meatball sub is $14. I'm like, what? In what world is that even a reality at this point? Like, they're not Subway subs, to be clear. Like, these are honkin' subs, and a normal human can eat a half a sub. In fact, I saved my other half. So if you're like talking about $7 for a half or $8 for half, whatever it works out to be, maybe reasonable. But holy smokes, even the pizza that we got, it was like $36 for 2 pizzas. They charge like $3 per topping. So you get the Hawaiian pizza. It's like $6 for toppings, pepperonis, $3. $37 for 2 pizzas. Pizza's supposed to be like the cheap food that you get when you have a bunch of people over. $36 for 2 pizzas. Maybe some of you guys living in cities, you're like, dude, that's cheap for me. But like rural Pennsylvania, $36 for pizza, $25 for a sub and a half. Like what's happening? Like I tell people all the time in Lego, don't be complaining about prices. You just vote with your wallet. If nobody buys the thing, the prices are going to come down or they're going to go out of business, I suppose. But like, I'm kind of at the point now where I'm like, that's not worth it. I'm going to go and just make my own food. Obviously, that's the answer, right? This is like a big first world problem. It's like, well, Greg, you don't want to pay $14 for a meatball sub. Make your own sub, make your own food, make something healthier. But, sometimes you just want to have those experiences. The scale, very angry at me with that. I put on about a pound this week. So we're going the opposite direction after like basically eating out 3 times in 2 days. But it was a wild binge. And what sucks is I was feeling confident and comfortable too, because I was down and I was like, dude, I ate that pizza last night. I'm down. Next day, boom. It was like later. So anyways, there's my rant about food prices. Again, we can probably all relate to that. And I'll look forward to hearing your rants as well. Tell me, here, I'll give you a prompt since prompts are good, right? Tell me about something that you bought recently. It doesn't even have to be food. It could be anything you bought recently that you were shocked as to what the price was. Maybe it's something you've had experience with in the past. Like you got your $5 footlong from Subway and the $5 footlong is now $14. I don't know. We don't go there, but it could be anything. Tell me about something you bought that was crazy, crazy prices. That was my food price rant. That's what I have in my outline here. So awesome weekend, obviously. Let's talk about Monday. Bonus Guys Day off of school. I ended up taking Clark Man out. We had to go to Walmart for shipping supplies. I needed some binders and some organization stuff for Lego. I needed some binders. I needed some page protectors. I needed some packing tape, some super glue, because he's always having me fix things. And I realized I was out of super glue. So I had to use like plastic model glue to fix these elf antler things that he has. It's like an elf hat that's on like a hairband, like one of those things you put over your head. He broke it. So I had to fix it with model glue. And I'm like, I need to have some super glue on hand here. It's like an essential dad ingredient, right? So I got all that. And then I took him toy shopping in there. We looked at the clearance. They had clearance Lego. Here's my thing, my prompt. Lego clearance. I'm looking at these clearance prices on Lego, which they're like 40% off. And I'm like, it feels like full price to me. Like there was a Star Wars set there. It was $110. I'm like, that's clearance? Yeah, it sets $170 or something. I'm like, dude, no way. So we skipped all that. But I ended up getting Clark Man. I kind of goofed up because I was going to get him this triple pack set for Easter. It was $15, which was a bargain, 400 and some odd pieces. And I was like, how about you pretend that you got this for Easter because we're going to build like miscellaneous mocks and things out of it. And he was all about that. But then he was looking in the toy aisle and the man could not make a decision on what he wanted. Like I was going to get him something, right? You might say that Clark's spoiled. You might be right. But in my opinion, being spoiled is a mentality. It's a way of acting, and it's not about the items you receive. It's about who you are as a person. And Clark he's very frugal, as I mentioned, and he's looking at things. He's looking at prices, trying to figure out what to get. He was maybe thinking about getting a Mega Pokemon set, Mega Constructs. And he's like, Dad, which one should I get? And I'm like, I don't know, dude. That's a decision you have to make for yourself. And he's him-hawing. And I'm like, well, what if we just take these Lego sets and we make Pokemon out of them? And he looked at the one that's like a unicorn. He's like, oh, I could turn that into insert Pokemon that's like a horse with like flaming hair here. And that's what we did. Went home and he built that and he was all excited. I started working on my Lego giraffe. So we're kind of getting into the world of Lego here. I also built my first Lego set of 2024 that I bought in 2024, which was that parrot I bought at Target a while back. That was a fun little build. I actually snuck it up. I was trying to figure out where to put it in the studio here. I snuck it up into the dining room and Cody hasn't noticed it yet. I'm going to slowly start putting Lego all over the place and see when she spots it, because I might be able to get away with this for a while. And she has invited it up into the office. So all of like my Disney stuff that I'm building, that can go up there. And I want to do some Disney stuff. I got some things in the backlog. So exciting stuff, right? I started making more Lego videos this week, which was fun to do. The audience is still there, which is nice to see. Lots of nice comments coming through. It's just a positive experience. Sold off some Lego stuff this week. Made a whole video about that too. Apparently, I made a video taking a break from the organizing and listing thing because I thought, that's pretty boring. Nobody's going to want to watch that. But then all of the responses I got were, that's exactly what we want to see. We want to see the listing, the organizing, the behind the scenes. I'm like, all right, ask and you shall receive. So I ended up making a whole video this week about that process, and that went over pretty well too. And I just thought, you know what? As I mentioned about Lego videos being a little bit easier to make because it just lends itself to content, I'm like, let's just share everything I'm doing. Don't let me be the decider if it's boring or not. If you want to see it, we'll make a video on it. We also did How Bad Is It video too, which is like where we take a non-Lego set and we try it out. That one was a hoot. And I'm just like, enjoying the hobby, not only personally, but like enjoying making videos and sharing it, which is like my primary thing that I like doing. Lego is just the vehicle, as I always say. So the world of Lego continues. This week I'm going to work on my amusement park city. I have like some plans that I want to do for that, adding some things in. I had big plans of building our Lego space coaster this weekend, which kind of like it got put off. And then I come to find out the Clark Man's going to be here. That I was like, what? Wait, me? I'm like, okay, whatever. We got lots of time, right? Hopefully. Where were we here? I got the Lego thing covered. I think I covered all that. Okay. We need to talk a little about eBay. We talked about selling Lego on eBay. That's going well. Other eBay sales going well. We went to another estate sale this week. I found a few scores. Went to 2 different estate sales. I spent $7 in each one. And I'm guessing that I'm going to be able to turn that into about $80. Maybe $80 to $100 after it's all said and done. I got a pocket like digital Bible, which was an interesting purchase. It was $1 and I looked it up and it's selling for like 30, 40, 50 bucks. I'm like, all right, that's a flip I'll take. I also got a keyboard there, which was $1, and she threw out a bunch of extra mice in with it too. So I'll sell those separately. You can't lose if you get something for free, right? Like the person pays for shipping and you sell it for a couple bucks, boom, put it in the mailbox. It's a small package. It's out, easy money. I also bought a camera there for $5. I can't resist cameras. This is a Kodak EasyShare small digital camera. Had like the paperwork in like a case, giant Kodak case that it came with, and all this stuff. And it even has a memory card in it too. And I was like, for $5, I'm gonna be able to sell that for like 25 bucks. So that was a nice little flippy there. The other place we went to was crazy. Like they had advertised on Facebook, which apparently brings out like all of the old people ever were there. So we had to wait in line to get in, and got in. I found a few things there as well. Not my most successful scores, but you know what? If I can go out, have an adventure with my mother and father-in-law, who I love dearly, and we have some fun. We went out for lunch that day. I got a wrap that day. I was going to get a salad, but then they had the special was like this wrap that was almost like a Reuben, but instead of having corned beef, it had turkey and it had coleslaw on it. It was really good. But again, there's another tick against me in my weight loss hopes and dreams as it gets shattered. But it was the peer pressure that got me. But we had a fun time going out that day. I paid for lunch this time instead of Budman. He paid for me the last couple times, so I paid. So that's going to eat into the profits. I'm basically just going to these estate sales so I can pay for our lunch so we can go out and have fun. But I like the treasure hunt. I got to make a video about it, obviously. So all of that works out, and that should hopefully make like 25 cents or 30 cents or something. So, hey, it's all in good fun, and I had a fun time going out as opposed to just being in. Takes us through Thursday. We're getting towards the end of the week here, if you can't tell. This episode's going long. Friday, it was a day where Cody and Clark both had off. It was supposed to be a teacher in service day, but they allowed the teachers to do all of their stuff ahead of time, like all of the learnings that they need to do, they can do on their own, so they could have that day off essentially. And we took advantage of that by going bowling, something that we haven't done in forever. Clark Man was inspired by playing Connect bowling. You can see how sometimes these things build on each other. I go to an estate sale, having an adventure. I buy a $25 Xbox with Connect. I bring it home, try it out. We get the bowling game, or the sports game. Clark loves it. He wants to go bowling in real life. We go bowling for the first time since before COVID. I remember the last time we went bowling was like in 2020, right before the whole COVID thing hit. We went with some friends, and then it was like, oh, dude, you don't want to go bowling and touching all the stuff and all that. So we just never did it again. And I was like, I miss bowling. So we went, had a blast, and it was so much fun. Well, unfortunately, though, like I filmed a whole bunch from our first game where I sucked. And then the next game, I was dominating. And it was incredible. I got like 135. I consider that dominating. My first game was like an 86. Maybe less. Maybe it was like 70 something. Terrible. Just awful. But we had fun. If you want to know the cost of bowling, I don't know if this is up or not, but for 1 hour of bowling, with shoes, balls, everything included, for 3 people, it was $45. Which... is that high? It's like, you go to the movies. How much is a movie ticket these days? Probably about that to go to the movies. You get a little bucket of popcorn. Although, what was that one time Clark and I went? It was like $60, something like that. That can't be. Anyways, I think it was totally worth it. I would spend $45 there to bowl an hour with my family any day of the week. I was trying to figure out like what the best day to go would be. We thought Friday afternoon, nobody's going to be there. They're having a retirement bowling league going on. The whole place was filled with people. We had to get like the lane at the very end. And then when that ended, the place was a dead zone again. I thought it was going to be like the movie theater when I typically go and it's just like me and Clark in the theater watching a movie by ourselves. But man, that was fun. And that's kind of how we wrapped yesterday. And it was good. We didn't go out for dinner. I was tempted, but I'm like, no, dude, I got fleeced enough this week. We were going to go to Texas Roadhouse, but I'm like, we gotta like not. So we just went to Wegmans and we got some food, made it at home. Typical date night behavior. But that kind of got us caught up. We played some Mario Kart last night when we watched Star Wars Return of the Jedi. Finally cleared out the last of the series, depending on where you believe Star Wars ends. There are 3 movies after that you may enjoy. And I did. I like those movies, but like it was cool, like kind of going back in time and watching that. One thing I didn't like though is that they put some special effects into it. I kind of wanted to see the theatrical release, but at the end they had Hayden Christensen as Anakin at the very end of the movie, and I'm like, dude. And then there was a scene where you could tell his computer generated graphics were put in. And I'm like, dude, stop messing with this movie, George. Anyways, it was a fun time, and that pretty much wrapped up our Friday night. And that takes us to today, where I'm at with you right now. That was an awesome week. Again, getting that little bit of bonus time with the family, enjoying ourselves like fully. And I was just so happy to have the times. It was a good week. It was a good one. So on that, like that's all I got for you. But we do have some listener feedback. In this, we talked about prompts. We had a prompt from last week, which was episode 200. If you had $200, what would you do with it? $200,000? $200 million? Ronnie asked the question. I answered, and you did too, starting with Janelle, who says she would buy a $200 gas and turnpike money to visit friends in Virginia Beach. $200 on the Pennsylvania Turnpike gets you about 12 miles. I'm kidding. No, I think it's like, Jesus, some of the tolls I get are like $15 just going down to Philadelphia. It's insane. $200,000 down payment on a nice farmhouse. I can appreciate that. $200 million education for myself and family, with the remainder being spent on starting free Montessori schools. Because why should the rich be the only ones to be able to go to Montessori school? Tuition at most schools run $13,000 to $22,000 a year. There are a few public Montessori schools that serve low-income areas. Well, that's pretty cool. I've looked into the Montessori system, and it's pretty darn cool. It's like, it's not what you picture school being. It's not you're sitting in rows with students and the teacher's lecturing to you, which is kind of how public school is. But it is hard, you know, like if you're trying to teach all those kids. I have a wife that's a teacher, and to try to teach to everybody and to try to foster the best and the most creative aspects of each person it's almost impossible to do as a single person, you know? So that's pretty cool. I like to see the charitable aspects of the big money. My answer last time was I was going to buy a politician. I was going to lobby a politician to try to make the world a better place for people, which is pretty bad. That's the way that it needs to happen. But I was going to buy some politicians. That'd be fun to do, actually. $200 million. I think I could buy everybody. I'm like, here's what we're going to get. We're going to get ourselves some free healthcare. We're going to make sure kids are fed. Homelessness is not a thing anymore. We got lots of homes and we can build some new ones. How about that missile we're building right now on that, that's however much it is. Let's just instead not do that. And let's make sure people are taken care of. What's more effective, you know, as opposed to blowing someone up with a missile, or a missile just sits there forever. Who knows? I probably just triggered half my audience. I don't know. It's hard to argue with that one, guys. Don't let your politics get ahead of sensibility. Anyways, next one comes from DB Bricks, who says, always love to dream when asked the age-old question, what would you do with X amount of money? What would I do with $200? Well, first things first, I'd convert it into pounds, of course. You just lost some money with the conversion. I don't know. I don't know what the conversion is. When we went, it was pretty darn close. He says, I currently got plenty on my shopping list when I've got a spare 200 pounds or so. I think top off the treat myself list would be the canvas print I've got my eye on of the Glastonbury Festival, the biggest music festival in the world. I didn't even know that was a thing. And somewhere that I've been lucky enough to go twice, easily 2 of the best weeks of my life that I've spent there. That would be cool to have something to remember that by. It says, with $200K, I'd buy a bigger property and expand my business. Space is very much at a premium when it comes to property in the UK. I must admit, I do roll my eyes a little every time you say there's not enough room in your basement. That type of space would be worth an absolute fortune in parts of this country. There's so much that I'd be able to cram in there. It's all relative, right? I remember when we moved into this place, I was like, oh, I have all this space. I filled it up. I need more space. If I got a bigger place, I'd fill it up. It's just the course of nature. If I had a small space, I would make it work, right? Like that's what I'm doing now. If I wasn't already at max capacity, like obviously I could cram more in here. Do I want to? Not necessarily. I could shelf this entire place. We could not watch movies down here. I could put shelves there. There were shelves there before, but I'd made a decision. This is more important to spend with my family than to stack up Lego boxes and Lego sets. There's still lots of that. There's plenty for that. But yeah, I find like the space is always a constriction, regardless of how much space you have. Even people with tons of space, you eventually fill it. You find a way, right? And it's easy to be disorganized when you have a lot of space too. Trust me on that. He says 200 mil. Honestly, for myself, it'd probably be very similar to the 200K aspiration. Get somewhere not only for me, but some of my closest friends and family and live a very comfortable life in. But I'd want to work and expand my business. I've got very bored very quickly if I lived off the money. And what would I do with 400 pounds? At that rate we're going, by the time we get to episode 400, it'll be just enough to buy a tank of fuel, maybe even a meatball sub. You might be $400 by the time we get there. That's going to be, what are we looking at, 4 years? Yeah. Ooh, I hope not. He says, I like the sound. This is unrelated. He says, I like the sound of this Bins place. I don't think we've got anything like that over here. Certainly not in my part of the country, at least. I'd imagine the Saturdays would be fun to look through, but the place would be full of scalpers based on actual events who'd be quite happy to push you out of the way to get their hands on the best deal. A bit like people at the front of the queue for the car boot sales. I want to go to one of those. I wonder what would happen. What happens to items that haven't been sold in the $1 day? Do they just go back to the $7 day? I think they just get tossed. I don't know. I did see a couple like repeat items in there. Maybe they keep a few, but after it's gone through basically a week of people scavenging through it, I think they probably just toss it. So maybe the best place to go is the Bins dumpster on Friday night. That might be the place to be. Head out there, assuming it's not locked, grab all your stuff for free and then sell it. Write that down. Next one is from the man himself who issued the prompt, sold by Ronnie, who says, very cool. Glad you enjoyed the prompt and congrats on 200 wonderful episodes. For me, my answers are almost identical to yours. $200. Silver Dollar City Season Pass. One day I'm going to get to Silver Dollar City. If you don't know what that is, it's a glorious amusement park out near where Ronnie lives. And I would love to go there with Ronnie. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. He's also going to maybe show me how to golf. I would like that too. If I had 2 requests, if I were to go out to Kansas and visit my boy, I want to go to Silver Dollar City. I want to go golfing. And maybe like instead of going out to eat, because obviously it's crazy expensive, we smoke something. I'm talking about foods, guys. Chill. We smoke something on the grill and you can teach me how to do that too. I want to learn from this guy. He's a fascinating individual who I've met online. Never met in real life, but I feel like we're BFFs. At least that's how I feel. He's probably like, dude, you're creepy. Anyways, he says the medium level pass gets you season pass for you and 5 free tickets for guest use throughout the year. So that would go a long way to making so many wonderful memories with me and Captain Beckett. He didn't add me on there. Wow. Anyways, he says $200,000. A small piece of land, 5 acres or less, in a home in the country, but still somewhere with solid internet access. That's a fact. The area I live, you can find homes in the country, but homes with solid internet access is still somewhat of a unicorn for some reason. Come on, Starlink. Yeah, you got to love the monopolies that are the internet companies. They're like, if there was more than one company that were competing with each other, maybe they would add stuff. But then it's like the cost is like, okay, do we run all this line out there for the 3 houses that are on this road? And they're like, yeah, but Starlink would be pretty cool. Like I've seen some good speeds with it. And if I ever get my super off-grid property, I guess I got to give Elon some money and we'll hook up to Starlink. He says 200 million. Every Pokemon card in the world. Just kidding. I'd put half of the money somewhere. I put half the money immediately in some kind of investment account so it could start compounding some interest and set up my family for generations to come. I take the other half and do various things such as traveling and contributing to various charities. There you go. That's perfect. Yeah, you could make enough money off 200 million just in the interest without ever touching it that you'd be set just with that. And then when you die, that money would just keep rolling to the kids for all eternity. Next comes from, as long as I didn't dip into it. Next comes from Sam. He says, good week to you, Greg. Hope all is well this week. It was a fantastic one, in my opinion. He says, very interesting prompt to begin today's episode. We should probably do more of these. If you guys would, if you're still listening and you're out in podcast land, you're driving your car or whatever, if you have a prompt that you would like to start these episodes with to kind of kick things off before I go into my week in the life, that could be a fun thing. Remember we used to do that with 3 questions? Might be kind of fun. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what kind of engagement comes from this. He said $200, probably just spend it on Nintendo Switch games or something insignificant like that. Yeah, 200 is like, I'm going to go do something fun with. 200K is like, I'm going to invest in my family. And then 200 million is like, do something bigger, right? I think that's the trend here. He says 200K, probably hand it over to my father to pay off my vehicles. Finally, I had 200 million. I'd buy every car I've ever dreamed of. If I had some left over, I'd pay cash for some houses, where one here in North Dakota, one in Montana, one down in Arizona. Hopefully I never have to work ever as well. I think you'd be okay with 200 million. I think you'd find a way to make it, Sam. And you might be able to get every car you want. Speaking of the money stuff, I definitely think it's time to list those Lego sets that have been moving boxes the last 4 years. That would drive me insane. Yes. Also, is your eBay store a public thing? Yeah, Brickatech Store is my Lego one. All one word, Brickatech Store. The other one's just Greg's Collection. So that's just like stuff that I find and flip. So if you don't like me being a dirty scalper, or if you see me find something for $1 that you really like and they're okay paying $20 for it, you can buy from there. But that's where like my non-Lego stuff is. And I should never even bothered separating it. I was just worried someone was going to buy something from me and then leave me negative feedback just out of spite. But I haven't seen that happen so far. And I don't think most people want to spend money to do something so insignificant and minor to somebody else. Like, it just seems pointless, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna give you $20 just so I can write that you suck at life or whatever in the feedback. It's like, why? What good would that do? You know what I mean? But if you want to pay me $20, do that. Now don't, because I want to maintain a good relationship with my customers. You're my number one customer. And one of my favorite things is looking through the feedback on there. And I love when people are like, fast shipping, expertly packed. I'm like, yes, that's what I strive for. Yeah, Greg's Collection, all one word. Brickatech Store, all one word. The Lego stuff, non-Lego stuff. It kind of helps the Lego people so they don't have to see all of my weird crap that I'm buying if they're just looking for Lego. But I'm going to try to keep listing stuff on there. And I'm looking at Lego sets and being like, okay, do I want this to be a permanent part of my life? Like, there's random sets that we've got in the past, the ones we've got in mail time, and I'm just like, does 70-year-old Greg want this in his storage room? The answer is yes, then I guess I keep it. If the answer is no, then it gets sold. And it's, of all the stuff that I've sold, I haven't lost one wink of sleep thinking about how I missed out on having that thing now. It's just like those sets that are sitting in those boxes for the last 4 years. Obviously, they're not a part of my life, right? If you can have something sitting somewhere for 4 years untouched that you haven't, well, I thought about it, obviously, but like, you haven't had the need to get into that box for anything. And the same could apply to clothes, anything you own. Do you really need to have it anymore? Is it serving you? And that's where we're like, that's the mentality with this whole eBay thing. That's where I've been and we've talked about. So let's go with the next part here. He says, I'm thrilled to hear that you and Clark had a glorious time at Oliver's party. Never had a birthday party, nor do I ever attend one in my early childhood days. That being said, I have considered hosting a celebration with my close friends in my class at the end of our senior year, just like a social thing. That would be awesome. He says, however, it sounds like a lot of work just for one guy, so we'll see. Nah, man. Go get yourself a $36 pizza. Tell everybody to come over, have a good time. It's not that big of a deal. You could have it at your place, or have it outside is the place to do it. That way any messes and people stamping through and all that is great. Just have it. All you need is a picnic table, some sodas, some pizza. Everybody has fun. And that would be cool. I think people would enjoy that. They call that a graduation party. And if you actually do officially have a graduation party and you invite friends, family, things like that, you can get money. They could give you money. You might be able to get $200 for a Nintendo Switch or a gift card maybe. Or if you just want to do it like informally, just do it with your friends. That'd be cool. Next one comes from my good friend who I met online but actually met in real life, Martin. In fact, I met him in the most glorious of places, Scotland. He says, forgot to say on my 200 question. Oh, I think he had a couple of these here. He says, for $200, I'd splash out on a nice Lego set that we could build as a family. I love it. With $200K, I think it would be enough to pay off our mortgage and any other outstanding debt and put anything left over into savings to invest in the kids' future education. Love it. 200 million. Can't even begin to imagine what I would spend that on. But having learned from our bus tour in London this weekend, some properties in or near where we stayed go for around $5 to $10 million or pounds a piece. That might be a start, but not sure I'd like to live in such a busy environment. Other than that, I'd probably be spent on seeing the world and ensuring the kids have the best education possible to them. I love it. 5 to 10 mil on a house or a property. I don't know. That's hard to justify. Like like when we stayed in that place in London, someone did comment like that place you stayed at, like it was in the basement. Like it would be an expensive place just for that. And it was like we walked to go see Hamilton, to go see the play Hamilton, and it was close to everything. Like everything was like within subway or tube distance. It was really cool. I don't know if I'd want to live in that environment either, though. I do like the seclusion of being out. I like being able to go outside and like see some grass. You can see that in London. You can go to the park, Green Park, which happened to be brown when we were there. I don't know. It's a whole different lifestyle. But can you imagine this? I don't know if you have such things as property taxes in the UK, but we have those here, and I can imagine what property taxes on a $5 to $10 million place would be. It would be catastrophic. I certainly, if I'm complaining about a $14 meatball sandwich, I couldn't handle the taxes on that. So I'm just going to live my nice, quiet, secluded life with my animals and my little farmette, if you will. Not growing any crops, but just growing memories and playing with my animals all day. That's all I want. That's all I want in this life. That's all I work for, right? Just providing for my family. And someday if we can make that happen, I would be just a happy dude. And that's maybe where I definitely see 50-year-old Greg. That's where we're going. And the place will eventually come up. I know it in my heart, and I'm just going to have all my animals. I'm going to have my pig, my goat, my ducks, my chickens, cats, dogs. I don't think I'm going to get a horse. That's a little too far. I'm going to have some birds. I'm going to have some fish. Obviously, I'd love to have a little pond, stock that with fish. It would just be life dreams. Who wouldn't want that life? I'd rather have that life than the $5 million place in London. Any day of the week. Any day. Next one. Thanks for commenting that. Martin, he says, this is from Lyndon. He says, awesome episode, Greg. Can't believe it's been already episode 200. It's crazy. I've been here since episode 43. Man, time flies. I can't believe you remember where you stopped in at. I think it's interesting that the birthday party you guys attended, the gifts were only V-Bucks and various gift cards. I don't think I've been to a birthday party where the gifts were only gift cards that I can remember. When I was younger, when I went to a birthday party, kids would get Lego sets and board games. I guess generations change depending on what's trending. I guess, dude. I don't know. That's what I pictured. I like when you have a birthday, you want to open stuff up. You want to get toys. Even as a 9-year-old, I feel like you're still in that realm, right? I could see if you're like 14, so you don't want to get a checkerboard. Maybe you want the V-Bucks, but that sucks, man. I kind of felt bad for him a little bit, but I'm sure he was having fun going on Fortnite that night and getting some free skins or whatever. I don't know. A couple people commented on this though. This one's from Janos, big supporter. I hope I'm saying it right. Is it Janos? Janos? I say Janos. That's where I see it at. He says, hey, Greg, congrats on 200th episode. We're at 201 now, my friend. He says, I'm usually just a listener, but I had to make time to comment on the 200th. I usually listen to your podcast during work on Monday mornings, so I'm really grateful for you helping me start the week in a good mood. What if I say nothing but angry and agitated stuff and complain all the time about food prices? How's that start your week? It's funny to hear that how similar your date with Cody is to ours. But this month we took it to another level, and after shopping, close to my wife, of course, we went to the Hungarian equivalent of the DMV. Oh no! To take care of some administration issues for our car. Yeah, you shouldn't try that. Grocery shopping sounds like a honeymoon on a tropical island compared to that. Wow, okay. I'm not alone here. These dates are something else. The DMV, going out on a date. Man, living the good life, I'd say. Hey, at least you got to do it together. You guys could sit there and chat instead of just being miserable by yourself. But anytime together is a good time, I think. Next one comes from Clay Turtle. Date at the DMV. That should be the title of the episode. I won't remember that. Congrats on 200 episodes. Have not been there for all of them. You were in spirit, but I've gone back and listened to some older episodes. My son had a birthday party he was invited to not long ago. I noticed the kid got nothing but gift cards and money, except for us. World has changed a lot in my 38 years of life. Thanks again for getting me through another part of my Monday at work. Hey, Monday at work gang, where are we at here? Me and you might be living the same life. You're 1 year younger than me, but we're living similar existences here. And I love that. It's interesting to know and to find out, and this is what listener feedback is so fun about. That's a new sentence. You never know who's listening. I hear from all types of peeps, and sometimes we're very similar, sometimes we're very different, sometimes we're in the same age, sometimes it's not. And it's like we all have these experiences, but sometimes they all kind of like blend together. I am curious about your listening experience. Now, if you're going back listening to older ones, are you listening in reverse order? Like, say we're in episode 200, you're like, I need to go back and listen to these old ones. Do you just pick out ones that have interesting titles? Are you just like, let's go back to 50? We'll start there and we'll go to 51, 2, 3. It'd be wildly overwhelming to find this podcast at episode 201 and then be like, I'm going to listen to them all. Because say we're averaging 30 minutes to an hour, that's 200 hours. That gets you through a lot of Mondays. That gets you through Monday through Friday for like forever. So if anybody is listening back, this particularly to you people in podcast land that are that never come over, let me know how you're navigating that. And I appreciate you listening though. I'd never go back and listen, but it'd be cool to see like what was happening at this time in 2019. I'm like, yeah, it's like February of 2020. I'm like, man, this year is gonna be awesome. We're gonna go traveling. It's gonna be so much fun. COVID. How sweet we were back then. Sweet summer child. Next one comes from Kristen. Thank you for commenting, Clay Turtle. She says, hello, Greg. Congratulations on your 200th episode. 201 now, baby. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say baby. I would say that no matter what, okay? Look, don't cancel me. It says, longtime viewer and listener of your channels, although I don't comment too often. Like Clark, our son also has a holiday/winter break B-Day, January 1st. See how common like things are happening. New Year's baby. Awkward time, however. Clark was almost born on January 1st. Like my first memory of January 1st, 2015 was Cody waking me up saying that her water broke. And I was just like, no. I'll tell you why. I wanted Clark to be born in 2014 for the tax purposes. It was like, he would be a dependent in 2014 if he was born then. And because I put that out there, the world was like, haha, Greg, I'm going to get you. January 1st, 5 o'clock in the morning, Clark Man's on his way. So he wasn't born until the next morning on January 2nd, but we had similar experiences. You were just doing it 2 years later. She says he's 7. That's how I did the math there, assuming I did the math right. We usually just do family B-Day with cake and opening gifts like you guys do with Clark. This year, we actually threw him a party because he's been asking with his classmates. We did in the middle of January on a 3-day weekend off from school. This way it was a longer weekend plus a little further away from the holidays. That's smart. She says seemed perfect. We also had a laser tag party, laser bounce. We're living the same lives again. And our son and the kids seem to enjoy. The idea of a summer celebration with Clark seems like a good idea. On the topic of B-Day party gifts, our son got mostly gift cards and cash. Very little things to open. I think it's a good idea to get at least the child something to open, maybe with a gift receipt in case they don't like it or have it already. Maybe a gift card or some cash and a card. Looks like you got some pretty nice things for Clark's friend and do what he was into, which was a plus. Have a great week. What is the deal with these gift cards and cash, man? That's such a bummer. Yeah, all I knew is he liked Pokemon. I'm like, all right. Put myself in the mind of a child. That was already done before I walked in. But I know what the kids like, you know? I think most parents, like, honestly, like, I had the time to do that. I had the time to go to Target, get that stuff. Like, if we were both working, maybe it is easy. Like, you're at the grocery store, you just grab one of the Fortnite cards or Amazon cards out the register there, and you're just like, hey, put $20 on this. That is easy. But it's also, in my opinion, not as thoughtful. Like, when you think of your friend, it's like, well, what is your friend interested in? Oh, he likes Pokemon. Let's get him some Pokemon stuff. Oh, he likes Lego. Let's get him some Lego. Now, if you like Fortnite, that's a little more challenging because there's not physical items, but there is. I mean, you can get Fortnite action figures. The opportunities are endless. So my advice, if you're going to a kid's birthday, whether you're a kid or an adult, get them something to open, man. Come on. Don't be that guy. Be that guy. Thank you for commenting and coming over and for sharing your experience in the same boat. This next one's from a repeat offender just on this absolute podcast. Martin, he says, good day, sir. We've already talked, Martin. We already had this conversation. He said, fantastic episode 200 this week. Glad to hear you have been busy listing things on eBay. I too added a bunch of stuff and even sold it while I was away in London. Guess I'm going to be busy when I get home. Have to say that we are with you on buying physical gifts for birthday party presents. We found that with Ouija and DJ, they receive about a 50-50 split of actual presents versus gift cards and cash. Okay, so this isn't just isolated to the United States either. This is happening in the UK too. Invariably, it's the actual gifts that they enjoy the most, and it's always nice to see the recipient's reaction when gifting items versus vouchers. That said, it can be nice to take their cumulative money and vouchers to buy something more expensive than they might be wanting. Oh, that's a good point, Martin. Hope you have a glorious week. With love from our family to yours. Thanks, buddy. That's a good point. You invite 10 kids to your birthday party. Instead of getting 10 $20 items or whatever, you take $200 to the store and you get something epic. Dang, maybe that is the move. I'm seeing the other side of this now. I'm looking at just in the moment of unwrapping something and getting something. But what about the long term? What about the next day when you go to with your parents and you get like a Nintendo Switch game for $50? That's kind of cool. I don't know. Where do you guys stand on it? I don't know. I'm split. Maybe a little here. Okay. Let's find the middle of both things. He likes Pokemon. Give him a pack of Pokemon cards to open and flip through. Then hit him with the gift card. I kind of wish I would have done that, I think. Because then you could have a little bit of both. I think that's the move. That's why mother-in-law does. That's why her Christmases are so great. She doesn't, she gives us money primarily, but then she finds all these little trinkets and things that she thinks we would like or find useful. And she puts things like candy bars or beef jerky and all these miscellaneous things and fills a stocking with it. So you get a ton of stuff to open, nothing that's extravagant. It's like going to the bins on $2 a day. No offense, Deb. And that I didn't mean that to be mean. I meant that for comparisons reasons. And then you get a $50 bill with it too. So it's a little bit of everything. That's the move. Final answer, Regis. Next and last comment. Thank you for the comments, by the way, Martin. Comes from Jay's Hobby Reviews. He says, "Hey, Greg, finally 200 episodes came and went. It's crazy. I do like your structure of your podcast with your life details and listener feedback towards the end. Have you ever thought of an additional subtopic to add, or to add more time, or is 1 hour the cutoff?" I have no cutoff time. He says, "Great podcast, hoping for many more. Also, are you looking forward to the daylight savings next week? Also, thoughts on attending Brick Fair someday?" Okay, we got a lot to unpack here with the final comment. These podcasts are as long as they need to be. If I only have 10 minutes of stuff to talk about, that's how long it'll be. Somehow I seem to go past that. With listener feedback, they seem to settle around an hour, and I see right now we just crossed the mark. So if you're Monday morning at work, we just killed an hour off. You're 1 hour closer to it being Tuesday, if that's of any help to you. As in terms of extra segments, I'm open to anything. Like I said, if we start this with a prompt each week, I could pick one at random, or we could start stacking them up. That'd be kind of a fun way to lead it off. But maybe people do want to just go into the here was my week in my life, because that's sort of what this is. I do kind of prefer that, I guess, because it's kind of what this podcast is built off of. So I don't know. I mean, it just is I don't have any official segments, I guess. I just do a very brief, rough outline. So talk about Guys Day, so things we did. I talk about my week in Lego. I talk about things we watched, scores that I had, selling on eBay, and these things change over time. And my fear is sometimes that maybe it gets a little repetitive. How many weeks do you want to hear me talk about, oh, I bought some stuff in an estate sale and I sold some Lego sets and I'm organizing? Maybe that gets old, and I do think and want there to be some progression in my life that I can demonstrate here, so you can see me leveling up over time. But this grind just seems to be endless, and I share it with you. But I don't want to always just be the guy that's talking about the same things. And I'm sure if you go back, and the people that are re-listening back to the old episodes, you'll hear about all the other stuff that I've done throughout the 4 years of doing this. So that's kind of cool, I think. As for daylight savings time, yeah, I'm excited to spring forward. So we have later sunlight in the afternoon or evenings. That'll be great. And thoughts on attending Brick Fair? I would love to. It just seemingly never works out with our schedule. It usually falls during a time. There was a time that I almost went, and we were going down to Outer Banks, passing right through Virginia on our way there. But I was like, dude, this is a 12-hour drive. Do I really want to stop off there and do that and then lose that time and maybe even extra day, because we'd probably end up staying in Virginia that night? Do I want to lose that from our vacation? And if you can choose between being at a Lego convention or on the beach in North Carolina, I hope you make the right decision, because it's definitely the beach. So I'm going to see what the dates are this year. I would love to go, because all of my Lego friends go to that one. Philly Brick Fest, from what I understand, is kind of dead. And it never was great. But the main reason you go to any of these things, and the reason like you appreciate life, and that's I guess where we'll tie this back to, it's the people. It's the people you get to spend your time with. And that's why I'd want to go there. And that's why I had such a great week this week, because I had my wife, I got my son, and it's like all I need in this world. We have fun together and we enjoy things. We go on boring dates. We play Connect. We play Mario Kart, and we just enjoy each other. And I don't think there's much more that you could ask for than that. So on that, before I get teared up here, I want to wish you a very good week this week. If you're Monday morning and it's work right now, you got this. You got it, man. Or ma'am. I hope you do have a glorious week. And as always, we'll find you in episode 202 of Missing Pieces.